I've been saying for years, the old school heavyweights of just, tuck your chin in and just start swinging punches, man. I feel like they're starting to go extinct. Nowadays, the heavyweight game's a bit different. Everyone's starting to get a lot more technical, a lot more athletic. So you got to adapt or you got to keep moving. Quite small for a heavyweight, so that was always a thing with my confidence as well. I said I've grown up in a very old-fashioned Irish household. So from young, I've always been taught every man bleeds the same blood as you. They put on their trousers the same way in the morning, so you just got to fight them and see where it goes from there. When I see him go down at the end of the first round, I thought that was the start of it, but to be fair, he rode the wave. He stuck it out. He was a tough boy. Finished the fight, and he kept it going. He kept it going at a good pace to the very end. So yeah, hats off to him. We've been working on a long time, we've always been getting into scraps and we've always been quite heavy-handed within our fights, but we've just been working on being a bit more refined and polished. To be honest, it's always been my biggest problem. I get hit with a shot and I immediately will just want to start firing back. So I'm just working a lot more on taking a little back step, being a bit calmer, picking my shots. The first round, I kind of got caught into it, but then once I went to the second round with Matty and spoke to him in the corner, I calmed myself down a bit more. I felt like the second and third round was definitely more calculated. He surprised me with his toughness, to be fair. I always thought he'd get stopped with a leg kick. So when I see him go down at the end of the first round, I thought that was the start of it. But to be fair, he rode the wave. He stuck it out. He was a tough boy. Finished the fight and he kept it going. He kept it going at a good pace to the very end. So yeah, hats off to him. I've been saying for years, the old school heavyweights of just, tuck your chin in and just start swinging punches, man. I feel like they're starting to go extinct. Nowadays, the heavyweight game's a bit different. Everyone's starting to get a lot more technical, a lot more athletic. So you got to adapt or you got to keep moving. That's a good question, to be fair. I'm honest with you, I grew up in a bit of a rough area. I was always kind of getting into trouble or getting into fights and arguments. So I grew up in an Irish household, so my dad was having none of that. So my dad started taking me to gyms. I originally started off doing MMA. I trained for about maybe 5 years, doing MMA and Savate Thai, which is a cross of like French kickboxing. But I just wasn't feeling fulfilled. I never took the fighting serious. I never really took training serious. And then once I met Matty about 3 or 4 years ago, that all changed, man. I started to get a lot more into it. I started to take my fighting a lot more serious. I've always been a bit rough and ready with the fights, but I just never had the confidence to go for it or never had the seriousness to go for it. So then once I met Matty, that kind of bridged it all together. We've got a very, very good working relationship in terms of cornerman, coaching, everything. It all clicked so well. So yeah, I've just been at it ever since, if I'm honest with you.
End goal?
If I'm honest with you, I never really have much expectation. I don't really think I'm that special. I don't think I'm this amazing fighter. I'm surprised I've done this well with it, if I'm completely honest with you. I've always just made sure I'm 100% ready for the fight at hand and then just see what comes afterwards. My main aspiration is I'd love to get a WBC Muay Thai title. So I've pushed myself out of my comfort zone. I'm going to take a Muay Thai debut end of July just to start getting a bit more experience in that side of things. But if I'm honest, I just plan on fighting and just seeing where it takes me. My main passion, I love the coaching side of things as well. I've got to put myself completely out of my comfort zone, keep fighting higher opponents, better competition and just see where it takes me. It's always been a thing, especially I'm quite small for a heavyweight. So that was always a thing with my confidence as well, seeing these big giants at the weigh-ins and then the next day you're thinking, I've got to fight you. It's always been a big thing, but like I said, I've grown up in a very old-fashioned Irish household. So from young, I've always been taught every man bleeds the same blood as you. They put on their trousers the same way in the morning, so you just got to fight them and see where it goes from there. So I always hold that very strong. It's been a few years now where I've just been able to get maybe 2-3 fights if I'm lucky, and usually I'm used to having fights every couple of months. So I always feel like I'm kind of a bit stagnant, and then once I'm starting to get myself back on track, it's just waiting for a matchup. So as of right now, K1, Muay Thai, whatever it is, I just want activity. I don't care about the other person's record. I don't care about their weight. I don't care about who they are. I just want ring time, if I'm completely honest with you. It's just pure discipline and turn it into positivity. I've always kind of been a bit rash, been a bit hot-headed. So having martial arts and having fighting to ground me a bit more, you know, being able to take that deep breath and think, you know what, save it for fight day instead of just lashing out for no reason. Also just uplifting others, you know, where I'm coaching in the gym, I know a lot of people look up to me, especially the juniors. So being able to go to the fights and then afterwards speaking to them and seeing how they got so G'd up for the next fight just off of that, like uplifting other people, you know, making other people feel good about themselves, making them inspired. So stuff like that, really, you know. I know myself how hard it is to get in the ring. So just to be able to get in there, you know, hats off to anyone that's done it.